Hello and welcome to Matt's MOSHCAST. I am here with my partner in crime from the future, Den. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I am doing much better than last week. I should apologize to all of those who had to suffer through me. I still have a little bit of something, but way better than last week. So I
Good to
have
hear.
energy now, at least.
Yeah, that's very good to hear. It's not fun when you're ill, and
No.
it's good that it's clearing up, going away, 'cause
Mm-hmm.
nobody needs that.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited for this episode. This one, I know last week our episode was kind of like the old guy going, get off our lawn, that kind of thing. But this week, I think is just a straight up fun episode because we're
Yeah.
going to talk about our first in the world of metal. And so it's just a whole bunch of it's going to be so much fun. And quite frankly, just doing research for this, it kind of took me back to memory lane. And so, it was super, super cool. So we should probably just get right into the news because we have a lot of stuff to cover.
To get started, um, we have something about Black Sabbath, actually.
Okay, cool.
It's almost a year since Ozzy Osbourne passed away
Hmm.
and left us. And now Bill Ward, the drummer for Black Sabbath, has disclosed that he's now primarily confined to a wheelchair.
Yes,
Now,
I saw
this,
that.
yeah, he said that does not mean that he can't walk at all. He can walk, just not for a
Mhm.
long time. He needs to rest a lot, which means sitting, hence the wheelchair.
Yeah, he's like he's in his what, close to 80, I would think.
He's 78.
Yeah.
And all of this does not mean that he wants to stop playing drums or to
Hmm.
retire or give up or anything. That's his words, not mine.
Hmm.
He says he's not retired, not ill, he's not giving up, still wants to go on playing drums, claiming that he can still play pretty good for 78 year old. And he seems to have just done the announcement for the sake of transparency because he
Hmm.
does not want to hide this from people. He's kind of in the public eye, and I guess
Hmm.
people recognize him. So he says, like, if you see me at the airport or somewhere around town, I'm not ill. I'm just hitching a ride on a
Yes.
wheelchair.
I
So
appreciate the transparency.
yeah.
I honestly I don't think he owes anybody anything. I would even if didn't know and I saw him in a wheelchair, I'd be like, good on you, Bill. You deserve, however you show up. I'm 100% happy to have you. The only thing that makes me sad about it is I actually just watched the Paul Diano documentary,
Hmm.
and it kind of he was in a wheelchair for probably the last, I think, 8 years of his life.
Yeah,
And
something.
it started way earlier where he was, using like limping, then using a cane, and then he went to the wheelchair. And it's part of me has this thing like once you go in the wheelchair, you're not coming back. And I hate to say it, and I don't want that to be the case for Bill, but that's the kind of scary part of it. That's the sad part for me.
Yeah, definitely. There is an element like this. For me, it also has something different because, Bill Ward, Black Sabbath, it's someone people have heard of, someone people know.
Hmm.
So when this person comes out and says, "Okay, I'm in a wheelchair," this does not mean I can't walk.
Hmm.
It kind of also highlights what a lot of people don't know. If you're in a wheelchair, doesn't mean you're immobile. Like
Hmm.
I personally learned this a few years ago from this woman I worked with,
Hmm.
because she had like something on her foot, so she couldn't go upstairs. And she said, "Okay, sometimes I do need a wheelchair if I'm traveling or something, even if I have never seen her in one."
Hmm.
It kind of opened my eyes. So there's degrees of mobility and non-mobility. So it's also good that someone who is that, let's say, high profile kind of say, "Okay, that's the
Hmm.
situation." And he seems to be pretty cool about it.
Hmm. Yeah, and once again, I appreciate the transparency, and
Yeah.
I really, once again, he doesn't need to be transparent. He's Bill Ward. He can do whatever he wants,
Yeah.
and he's already earned his legacy. But I really just like kind of wish him well, and I hope that
Definitely.
everything is on the up and up. It's just that having recently watched that documentary, I'm like, oh no, but to your point, it doesn't necessarily mean it's always a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, 78 is
Hmm.
quite an age, and I also hope that it's temporary, or that he will get better, or at least to a point where he
Hmm.
doesn't need it that much. But even if he doesn't, he seems to, I don't know, have accepted it in a healthy way. So
Hmm.
that's also something that at least I see in a positive light, because it is what it is. He seems to have to deal with
Hmm.
it in a good way. So in any case, just all my best wishes for Bill,
Hmm.
and to for him to continue playing and have fun, because as you said, he can do whatever he wants, and if he wants to continue playing, please.
Yes. And it was funny, just on a final note on Bill. I I can't get this image out of my head. I saw like a meme a couple months ago, I think, and it was something like this was like the heaviest music when like the drummer was wearing his pajamas on stage. And it's that like image from like the early 70s when Black Sabbath first came out, and Bill Ward it literally looked like he was wearing pajamas that had like stars all over them. And it's just funny because it's like, yeah, that's like extra heavy when you're wearing your PJs on stage.
Like,
So
you don't care that much.
yes, so that's the image I have of Bill Ward from here on out, thanks to
Yeah.
that meme.
Yeah,
Anyway,
generally, I kind of have to say, this whole metalhead style of clothing, it did not really start appearing until some years after Black Sabbath.
yeah,
So,
you
which
would
means that for
argue
the early
Judas
years,
Priest. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for the early years, they were wearing like a lot of whites and bell
Mhm.
bottoms and, 70s hair, and
Yeah,
it kind of does not go with the music exactly. So it's also a funny image.
exactly. Awesome.
And
So
you said documentary. That's also
yes.
kind of a good segue into my next item,
Hmm.
because it's about a new mini documentary, what could say, from the band Mastodon,
Oh, fun.
not the not the social network Mastodon, the band. If you don't know
Hmm.
the social network, whoever's listening, go check it out. It's so much better than the mainstream ones. But back to the band. Last year, they lost one of their important members. I think one of the
Hmm.
founding members. I'm not sure. Brent Hinds. He passed away in, I think, August last year.
Hmm.
I'm not sure of the date. I haven't written it down, but it was a motorcycle accident, and that was all following a lot of tension with between him and the other band members. He had left a very public and dramatic
Yeah,
way,
they were
and then he
suing
passed
each other
away.
and everything too.
Yes,
Yeah, it was pretty messy.
it was a lot, and now that they released a song actually in his honor, "Your Ghost Again," a couple of weeks ago,
Hmm.
and now this new documentary is called "The Mastodon in the Room," which I think is a very clever title.
Hmm.
Where I haven't seen all of it, like I didn't have time because I only saw it late yesterday,
Hmm.
and they watch a lot of archival footage. Like they have a lot of footage remaining from their early years. They go a bit through the band's history, and the rest of the band talk about Brent. And
Hmm.
it seems to be like a way for them to kind of work through it, through the grief, through all the to the conflicts that were happening. And it is up on YouTube for everyone to see. So if you're
Yeah.
a Mastodon fan, but even if you aren't, I recommend you go and watch it, because I think it's a good thing. It's also important in metal history also, and it shines a bit of a light on the inner workings of the band.
Hmm. And I will say, Mastodon is the band I've tried to get into. Like I've tried, and I know they have a huge following, and they don't need me necessarily. But I've seen a few Mastodon documentaries. Usually, it's about how making an album and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I know the people, and I feel like and so I absolutely will check it out because I love documentaries on anybody, really, especially in bands and whatnot. And that's quite frankly how I've seen a few Mastodon documentaries, but don't actually really know their music or, like I said, I've tried it, just not necessarily for me, but I absolutely will check it out.
One more thing, just to change the subject into something more fun, so to speak. We have new
Yay.
music. We
Uh-huh.
have new music from
Mhm.
Amon Mars, and they've done something I did not expect them to do. They
Mhm.
surprised me because over the last few albums, I was always thinking, okay, it's more of the same, and
Mhm.
it's not quite as exciting as the early ones. And now they've gone and released an acoustic single. So it's
Yes.
called Uphav. That means beginning, but it is also kind of a part of a poem. I didn't exactly
Mhm.
understand what part. So sorry about that. If anyone knows, please enlighten us in the comments.
Mhm.
And
So I did see
yeah.
it. I saw it on my YouTube feed. I didn't check it out because there may or may not be a reaction. Um,
Ooh.
so there are some that where I kind of pause and I go, I should probably do a reaction to that one. So that is on my list of reactions that I would like to do. So, but and I did hear that it was like their very first acoustic
Yes.
song, which I don't know what it is, but I am a sucker for anything acoustic. I think if anybody takes one of their songs that's electric and turns it into acoustic, I'm 100% down, and so I'm excited to see what they could do, because to your point, I think a lot of their stuff sounds very similar, and don't get me wrong, I love it. I'll see Amon Amarth live any day of the week. They're always fun, always great. But from a music perspective, they're kind of like the AC/DCs of the world. What they do great, but a lot of it
Mm.
kind of sounds very similar. So
Yeah.
to see
Them
them
and
do something
Sabaton both.
acoustic, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, so I will then skip my commentary on the song itself, so you have something to
Wait,
look forward to. But I
awesome.
will mention on their website there is a countdown that I believe will still be out, will still
Mhm.
be running by the time this episode is up.
Mhm.
And there's also something extra for people who have subscribed to their newsletter. So I
Hmm.
will not say what, but
Okay.
just I will leave it for every individual to kind of find out themselves.
Awesome. I will
But
say
let's
this.
just say something more is coming.
Mhm.
At least that's my interpretation.
I will say I'm kind of done with countdowns since you mentioned it. I know like Linkin Park did the one a couple years ago
Yeah.
where it was a big countdown. Everybody waited and then it started again. And I feel like ever since then, people have been doing more and more countdowns. And at Tons of Rock before Limp Bizkit, like we were waiting for, I think we were probably 2 hours early for Limp Bizkit. And so I feel like it was close to the time that they should have gone on stage. A big countdown appeared on the thing. And so it was a 5 minute countdown. So we're waiting and the 5 minutes happens and then a picture comes up, which was pretty funny. And then a 5 minute countdown started
Oh,
again.
come on.
And then at the end of it, we're all like, people are counting down. And then you get to it in another picture, which is funny, but still comes up again.
Well,
And
the
I feel
first
like
time is funny, the second time is annoying.
it gets very obnoxious because it was like a third time, I think. And it was just like, okay, now I just hate you. Like it's like I wanted to see you. Now I hate you because you're trolling your own audience. And so I'm done with countdowns. So I
Yeah,
want all countdowns to stop. It just
I
release something.
I hope this does not sound quite as insulting as it is in my head, but I have to say it. Like, this is exactly the kind of behavior I expect from Friendthirst.
Well, fair enough. But it's not just him though. A lot of people are doing countdowns.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like enough with the countdown. Like, why can't you just be here it is? Or I will say there's some bands, and Iron Maiden does this quite a bit, where they'll leave clues. Like clues are great. I love clues. That gets your
Yeah.
fans engaged and you speculate on what's going to happen. But a countdown is just sort of like you know. Then there's the Greta Van Fleet thing they did. I think they had a countdown, but then they were kind of like trying to tell you they were quitting. And I think the rest of the world was like, yes, finally. But
No, but they
apparently they're
weren't.
releasing a new album. So,
Yeah.
anyway, so I think it can backfire. And I think countdowns, in my opinion, backfire. I don't care who you are. I hate the countdown at this point. That's enough of
Yeah, I
me
mean,
to get off
if
my
it's
lawn today for
if
today.
it's overdone, it can be super annoying. If it's not overdone, I
Mhm.
can live with it.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I guess with that being said, it's time for new music of the week. We should have had a
Yeah.
countdown.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
it will be a picture of me, but my one arm is going like
Yes.
this.
Awesome. Okay, so for new music of the week, for me, I have two. And the first one is Motionless in White Decades.
Yeah.
And I am not the biggest Motionless in White fan. I actually have recently tried to get into them and I really enjoy their music. And I kind of like everything about them. I saw them live at Tuska 2 years ago and the whole crowd was into it. They had a fun show. So it's everything that I should love. I'm just waiting for that one thing to like completely grab me, and that has not happened yet. But I'm hoping with this album, this will be the time that I finally get the I'll be a full member of the Motionless in White fan club. That's all I'm hoping for because everything that I've heard, I actually really do enjoy. It just hasn't just gotten me, over that hump. So I feel like this is the one for me.
Okay, I keep my fingers crossed because it's not exactly on my list, but I did see it's coming out.
Hmm.
And it's probably an album that I might have to buy for my husband because it's exactly the kind of things he likes. You know, the metalcore with the screaming and then with the clean vocals. That's as soon as he hears the clean vocals, he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, that's for me."
Hmm.
So I'm not a huge fan of them, but I don't hate it. So I
Hmm.
am kind of waiting to see if I have to buy it.
Yeah, I'm also a little biased because they're from a small town in Pennsylvania, and
Uh-huh.
my wife and I are both from Pennsylvania. She's from more of a small town, so there's this kind of like you want to see the boys do well, which once
Yeah.
again they've already done well. They don't need my little Pennsylvania cheering, but either way, yeah, I'm curious to see how it goes. So yeah, decades for Motionless and White. Boom. Do you want me to just
Yeah.
tell you my second one and then we'll
Go
go from there?
ahead.
Okay, this one, folks, is going to date me like no other, but I don't really care, quite frankly, because if you get to the rest of this whole episode, you'll realize how old I am. And so I am so excited for this next album, and I've been waiting for it for quite some time. But the band Tesla has created a album called Homage, which is basically a covers album. And if you're a fan of Tesla, you know that they've done quite a few covers albums. In my opinion, they're all fantastic. I think Tesla is one of the most underrated bands of that era. I've seen them multiple times and they just never get the credit that's due, in my opinion. And so I am so excited for this one. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think maybe we should also talk about them more when we finally do the bands that should be bigger
Yes.
episode. Because
Yes.
I did check one of the singles from the Tesla album. I have
Hmm.
to say it's not quite my thing, but
Hmm.
hey, if you enjoy it, I'm not going to tell you not to listen to them.
Yeah. No, no, they're like I said, I think if you're into rock, like hair metal, back in the hair metal
Yeah,
days, I have so many fond memories, seeing Tesla live, but also out of all of those bands, there was a lot of bands that were put together just because they had a certain look and they were,
Yeah.
and the guitar player was good enough, that kind of thing. And these bands would, go and be huge on MTV and whatnot. Tesla was one of those bands that were extremely talented. They were way talented than people ever probably realized. And they were just always great. So I don't know. I love Tesla. It's just what it
Okay.
is.
Way to go, Tesla.
Yes. Boom.
Yeah. So I have an album to promote kind of that was sent to us.
Oh, fun.
And yeah, more fun. It's a US band from LA. They're called Nova Rain. The album is called Shifting the Axis of the World. And I can describe the music as kind of like US brand power metal,
Hmm.
but also, at least to my ears, I hear a lot of Rhapsody influences. And
Oh,
I
fun.
like the combination. It's, they're not inventing the wheel. It's nothing groundbreaking, but it's well done.
Hmm.
It's fun, it's epic, it's fast, and the vocals are great. So if you like that kind of thing, go ahead, Nova Rain.
I'll have to check it out. It's one of those things where when I see US power metal, I kind of cringe a little bit because like even though I love Kamelot and Kamelot is technically considered US, I
Mhm.
don't believe it. I'm not buying into it. I think they're European and they're just trying to say they're American. So I'm not, I
Yeah.
don't get it. So when I hear American, I was like, nope, unless you're like European, you can't do power metal. So I'm going to check this out. I'm going to check it
Check
out
it
and,
out
and see. Maybe they'll change my opinion.
because Kamelot actually does not play US power metal, even if the main guy and the bassist are in Florida.
Hmm.
Because there is actually a subgenre that people call US power metal, and there's also the European kind. And the funny thing is, they're both inspired by Iron Maiden.
Awesome. Well, then that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, but
But
you know, the US kind has more of a trash influence also going on,
Mhm.
and European one less. So there's like the main difference. And if you want, like maybe the most famous example, what I start with doing in the 90s, like I think they haven't released anything you need to hear after 2001. So, but like the Dark Saga album or Night of the Storm Rider. That's
Mhm.
the classic US power metal sound, especially with the galloping riffs, with the
Mhm.
speed metal, with the some shouted vocals, like not screams, but really kind of shouts like in thrash.
Mhm.
But these guys, Novarain, they have like a singer that kind of goes for the Fabio Leone uh, sound, like clean, high, very vibrato vocals,
Mhm.
and I like the combination.
Cool.
It's
Okay,
fun.
cool. I'll check it
It's
out.
cool. Two things we weren't sent, but I kind of want to mention because one of them I want to buy.
Hmm.
Um, and I think you should check it out. It's a band called Haken from the UK, and
Hmm.
they play progressive metal. And so we've kind of had a string of bands that sound like them. Like recently, we had Prince of Failure that we both liked.
Hmm.
And before that, we both kind of were so surprised by Blinded 23 that we invited
Yes.
Mateusz to talk about them. So anyone
Hmm.
who hasn't watched that, go and do it.
Hmm.
And in this vein, Haken does something also very similar, but I wouldn't say copying. It's they have
Hmm.
their own sound. So
Yeah.
check them
Okay,
out. I
cool.
really enjoy them. Yeah,
Awesome.
and
I'll check
a
it out.
fantasy folk rock from Germany called Mythemia are releasing their new album Wolkenjäger. It's kind of Feuerschwanz-ish without the electric guitars.
Oh. Well, no, I love Feuerschwanz no
You
matter
did say you
what.
like acoustic stuff,
I
so
do. So it's acoustic Feuerschwanz type.
kind of. It's what I would describe it for people who haven't heard them.
And do they sing in German or they sing in
What
English?
I checked out was in German.
Yes. Boom. Okay,
So,
I'm in.
yeah, that's it.
Yes, all you have to say is acoustic Feuerschwanz like in German. I'm in.
I mean, you could also listen to early Feuerschwanz, but
True.
They don't have Hans, which I think is a minus.
Hmm. Okay. Well, we'll check it out. And what's the name of this band again?
Mythemia, like I'll send you a link.
Oh, perfect. Okay, cool. Awesome.
Okay.
Okay, so that was the new music of the week, and now it's time for the topic of the week. So excited. Okay, so now it's time for the topic of the week. And once again, we are talking about our metal first. And so we've got a couple items of like what our first of was, and it's all going to be somewhat metal focused. And so one thing I want to get clear just to make sure we have the ground rules in place, because for me, I know things could go completely different depending on how we choose the rules to be. And so, one thing I wanted to clarify is, does hair metal count as metal in this particular case?
I don't see why not. Like, I know I don't like hair metal does not mean it's not metal because I'm not that kind of person.
Yeah, so it's like I don't really, it is weird because I've heard it considered like hard rock, or metal, metal. And so I always question it because some people call it metal. Like I think if you ask Sebastian Bach, he would probably tell you it's metal. But you could also make a case that, it's not because it just seems to be more hard rock. So there is a gray area, but for argument's sake, I think for today, we're going to grant hair metal as being technically metal. And so we'll just run with it from that perspective.
Yes, I think for some bands the border is not really there or is liquid in the best case, and
Hmm.
I don't really care. I mean, it's called hair metal, and there's a lot of bands that have been inspired by hair metal that are, you
Hmm.
know, like what elitists would call a proper metal band nowadays.
Hmm.
So I don't see the problem.
And I think what I should use as an argument is when you look at the new wave of British heavy metal, Def Leppard was 100% in that group. They're
Yeah,
also 100% in the group of hair metal. So
yeah,
maybe that's the bridge we'll use from our argument's sake. But
yeah.
before we get started in our very first, I'd like to kind of set up, how you actually got into metal. Like, when did you know that this was it for me? When was your, um, you know, when did you go, this is it?
Um, I didn't really have a moment when I said like this is it, I'm a metalhead now. I mean, I will go into, first songs and first bands and all of
Mhm.
that, but there was a moment where I realized I don't like pop music
Hmm.
and hip hop and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Like what was coming on the radio, like I didn't hate all of it, but most of it I was just not liking it. And I was sitting
Mhm.
there, for example, in a car somewhere, or I don't know, wherever, and radio's going on, something, whatever is popular right then plays. And I'm like, can't they play like Nightwish?
Yes.
And
Awesome.
at some point, it was just like, okay, I guess that's it.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
It's happened.
For me, I know I was thinking back on this, and from my earliest memories, I've always gravitated towards things that scared other people in the world of like entertainment. Not, like, trust me, there's a lot of things in real world that scare me to death, and I don't gravitate towards it. I quite frankly go the opposite direction. But when it comes to entertainment, there's always things that have, like, I remember being a little kid and somebody played Stairway to Heaven backwards on their album, and it kind of, if you really tried to make it out, it said something like "I love Satan and we live with Satan." It was something crazy that kids, talk about, subliminal messaging. and
Yeah.
and I remember, like, it freaked, like, I think my brother out and people around, and me on the other hand was like, yes, this is awesome. And so there were things that just sort of, anytime I would see like a graphic image of like a monster or something that looked intimidating or scary towards people, I was like, yes, even like when Marilyn Manson first came out, sign me up. This is what so anything that kind of scared other people was like, I need this in my life. So it just happened that metal kind of lended itself to that fear, even with like Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil and that kind of stuff. I'm just like, yes, sign me up. So
Yeah, so you are kind of a creepy kid.
yes, I probably, I'm assuming because like I love like horror movies and like when it comes like haunted houses and stuff, I'm literally the guy that if there's a haunted, insane asylum or something like that that you can spend the night in, I'll be the guy doing that. I'll be like, "Yes, sign me up. I'm down." So yeah, it might be the creepy kid, but I don't know. I've always been drawn to that kind of whatever scared people from an entertainment perspective. It sort of worked for me. So, okay. So, what was the very first like metal song that you recall going, this is metal and I love it?
I kind of have two answers to that question, but with the caveat that for the first one, I did not know this was metal.
Oh, okay.
And the second one was also something different. And I only made the connection after that second one. That was a few years later. And I think I will still say the first one because it's very funny. Yeah,
Hmm.
I promise that you would laugh because this is how I heard my favorite band for the first time. I was like 9 years
Hmm.
old.
Oh, fun.
And Apocalyptica, I think they should have been releasing their second album, or it must have been out at that point. And for some reason on TV, there was their video for Nothing Else Matters,
Hmm.
which, the version, it's very lyrical, it's very slow, it's pure strings, nothing else. So I'm like, I connect metal with, the scary things, with the
Yes.
shouting, with the fast playing. And so I didn't go, okay, this is metal and I love it. I just said,
Mhm.
oh, this is pretty. I like it. And
Awesome.
years later, I listened to Linkin Park in
Oh.
the end, which was the second song. And yeah, it was kind of this new metal wave kind of
Hmm.
dragged me for a bit there, for a small bit. But this song was, something of a revelation that,
Hmm.
yeah, this is metal, this is screamy, this is angry. I need more.
Yes. Awesome. And so, wow, I feel old. I really feel old. I didn't expect to feel as old already. So when I was a little kid, I was like probably 8, not even 8, probably 6 or 7 maybe. And I used to go roller skating a lot, like back in the day. I'm assuming they had it all over the world, so I don't have to explain that part. But like there was always like the cool scary kids that were like playing like the video games and it was the epitome of what you would see a metalhead, and at the time being a little kid that was like a scary type of person. But Quiet Riot's Come On Feel the Noise was like blaring all throughout the roller rink. And I just remember them loving it and me going, I want to be like them. And so I fell in love with Quiet Riot at the time. So like Come On Feel the Noise was my jam. And I didn't know what heavy metal was at the time, and I didn't know that was it. And so I don't know if it counts because I didn't know, but that was one of those things. And shortly after that, I think Ozzy's Bark at the Moon came out too. And I was like, I don't know why, but I love this. This is super cool, So I think Quiet Riot, Come On Feel the Noise, I think deserves the credit. And I had no idea that it was a complete ripoff of Slade, but you know, only in hindsight.
Yeah, I will actually probably owe myself €5 because I made a bet that Quiet Riot would be on your list. I don't know, I had a
Really?
feeling.
Oh, wow. No, that's awesome. I've always laughed. In hindsight, I've always laughed at Quiet Riot because I got to see them live, and I used to work at a TV station, and they came and they performed acoustically, which was funny, since it's kind of topical on our show today. And it was before Kevin DuBrow passed away, and I got to see them do "Come on, Feel the Noise" acoustically, which that rarely ever happens. But one thing that struck me as funny with Quiet Riot was the fact that "Come on, Feel the Noise" was like their biggest hit, and that was a cover of Slade. So then when it comes to the next album, they're like, "Hey, what do we do?" And then they decided to rip Slade off again with "Mama, We're All Crazy Now." And I'm like, it's one thing to do another cover. I get it, but you're gonna literally take from another band that nobody's heard of in America and make it your own, and that became another big hit for them. And so I've always thought Slade just has to downright hate them. Like I know they made money off of the writing credits and stuff like that, but on one end you have to sit there and go, really? Are you just gonna do a whole, you know, lifespan of Slade songs? So Quiet Riot did downgrade for me quite a bit when I realized all of that stuff, but when I a little me loved it. So
Yeah.
awesome.
Ah, hey, even if you didn't call it metal at the time, but I mean, if
Mhm.
mine counts, this also counts.
Yes. Awesome. Okay, so what was your first metal album?
First album that I bought.
Hmm.
Now, this is the one that's being bothering me for the last few days because I don't know.
Really?
Like, I can't for the life of me remember which album I bought first because I thought, oh, okay, Nightwish Dark Passion Play. No, wait a minute.
Hmm.
I was listening to Blind Guardian before that and Iron Maiden and stuff like this. So trying to kind of remember, and I really don't know
Wow. I see.
because we also kind of had like a CD copying trading thing with friends because at
Mhm.
the time it's not like I lived at the end of the world, but we didn't have a lot of pocket money and we spent it all on candy and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And we had a kind of this thing, okay, you have this album, I will copy it of you. And I do not count these because I did not buy it. Or
Mhm.
or my first one would have been Meteora, again by Linkin Park. But
Mhm.
if it's the one that I really went out and bought, whew, I don't know. I
Wow.
really don't remember. I had quite a few. I had some Evanescence. I had Judas Priest, Cradle of Filth, although that was gifted.
Mhm.
I had later Amorphous albums, all the Nightwish albums, stuff like that. And I'm kind of sad because at one point I gifted them away or sold them off. And a few years later, now, like a few years ago, now
Mhm.
I had to start and get all of these albums again.
Mhm. Okay, so so basically it could be one of Nightwish or Blind Guardian for argument's
Yeah,
sake,
I,
for
I'm kind of
conversation's sake.
thinking it goes into that direction. So if it was Blind Guardian, they had just released a Twist in the Myth at the time when I found them. So it might have been
Mhm.
that because I
Okay.
remember people hated it, but I really like it. I don't know. Uh,
It's
I
something you
listen
pay
to it a
money for.
lot.
Yeah, and mine, as much as I just talked about Quiet Riot, my brother actually got that album, so I didn't buy it or anything like that. And so, quite frankly, he didn't buy it either. I don't know how he got it, but anyway. But I vividly recall being a little me and going in a record store and seeing the album art for Twisted Sister Stay Hungry, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the whole wide world. And it scared my grandmother. Like it was so great because I was in a mall with her and I was like, what is that? I want that. And she did not want to buy it for me because of the album artwork and the fact that it's, D. Snyder with a bone in his hand and just looking, scary. And so I remember having to try to save up money to buy it. And it was one of those, like, that's all I wanted. I was hyper focused on that album. And I only knew the two songs from it, 'cause MTV. afterwards, but I saw the album art before I saw the videos on MTV, and I saved up all my money. It took me forever back in those days, and bought the Stay Hungry album from Twisted Sister.
Nice. Yeah. I kind of imagine the scene. It's looks very funny in my head. It's
Yeah.
especially the idea that the granny was so afraid of Dee
Hmm.
Snider because
Yes. And
it's Dee Snider.
it was like, what is this? Why are you, and I'm like, it looks awesome. And so, yes, it started at a young age.
Yeah, some things don't change.
Hmm. Yes. And so, yeah, like I said, now it's the same thing. And like there's way worse album covers and all of that. But as a little me, I was just like, yes, I need this in my life.
Yeah.
Awesome. So next up is going to be first metal concert.
First metal concert.
And I'm
Okay,
also
that's
curious about your
easy.
first concert in general. So first concert, but also first metal concert. How about that? Both.
First concert in general, I again have no idea. Because
Hmm.
I think my mother might have brought me to like semi-classical music thing
Hmm.
here and there, but I have no memories of this. And by the time I developed an interest in going to concerts, because it was, oh, metal music that you're
Hmm.
not going, you're too young, you're not going, it's too far
Hmm.
away. And I remember 2007, Manowar was playing. So we all actually drove to the city where they were playing,
Hmm.
only for me to find out that my parents did not buy tickets. They just wanted to, hang in front of the stadium and eat sausage and drink beer.
Hmm.
So that was all. So I don't count that.
No.
But next year, I got them to take me to an Apocalyptica concert.
Ah, fun.
So them I did see. It was, I mean, it was a free concert, but I
Hmm.
was there. I was, pretty much in the front.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah, so I saw them, which is amazing because it's all these years later and I still love them.
Hmm. Hey, it counts and it stuck with you.
Yeah,
And so,
I actually recently looked because I remember I had a pocket camera and I recorded a few songs,
mhm.
like one or two, and I took a bunch of pictures and it's all gone. That's sad.
No, my very first concert is one that it really dates me, but it wasn't my choice. It was not something that I planned on, but I'm extremely thankful in hindsight that I actually got to see the person. But I think I was like 11 maybe or something like that. My dad was a fan of like music like Elvis and all that kind of stuff. And Roy Orbison, who
Hmm.
it was he was playing, and my dad got tickets to go. And at first he didn't think I'd even want to go because it just wasn't my world. And so but I was like, no, no, I'll go. Let me check it out and see what's up. And I got to see Roy Orbison, and it was actually like I feel like 6 or 8 months before he died. And he put on like one of the most amazing shows. To this day, just being as old as he was, and he sounded amazing. It wasn't my thing, and I was little me surrounded by a bunch of old people who were freaking out, So at the time, I was embarrassed in a weird sort of way to go, I saw Roy Orbison. That was my concert. But in hindsight, I'm extremely thankful to see a legend like Roy Orbison before he,
Yeah.
he passed away. But I would say, as far as metal goes, or one that I actively wanted to go, was Bon Jovi's "Slippery When Wet" tour back in. I think I was 12, maybe 11. It was literally like I saw Roy Orbison and then Bon Jovi, but that was the one that I really, petitioned to go see, and I spent $12. And I remember
Oh,
that was
wow.
like the most amount of money. I was like, I can't believe tickets are this expensive, like that kind of thing. And I remember having to like really like bug my mom to like spend the $12 that we didn't have to go see Bon Jovi. And now when you see Bon Jovi ticket prices or anything like that, I feel like the first time I saw Metallica, it was 12.50, I think. and now it's just crazy. So fortunately, I can say I saw those bands back in the day because Metallica was shortly after. Same with Motley Crue. So like once I got the Bon Jovi bug, I pretty much was like, I love this whole thing and I need to continue on. So
Yeah, it's
it,
you get addicted a little bit, I think.
yes.
But I guess it's one thing where it's not damaging to be addicted to. But
No.
I do have a side questions. What did you
Mhm.
think of Cemetery Skylines cover of Roy Orbison?
It's funny. I loved it. I thought it was so much fun when they did it live. And the funny thing is, I think I have, outside of Roy Orbison's version, I think I have Cyndi Lauper's version in my head more than the Roy Orbison version. And so, because that was a later song for Roy Orbison. So I have, when I think of him, I think of, Pretty Woman and Crying and all the older songs for
Hmm.
him. So for me, that sounds more Cyndi Lauper than Roy Orbison, but it's a great song though. And when they did it, I was so thrilled and excited.
Yeah, when they did it, when I saw them, literally everyone sang.
Hmm.
Like everyone was singing along. It was really cool.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And folks, I know I'm old, but if you if you don't know who Roy Orbison is, go check out Roy Orbison.
Yeah.
I will say Bruce Springsteen is on record of saying like he does not go on tour without his Roy Orbison albums. So just throwing it out there.
Yeah, no, definitely check him out. He had a fantastic voice,
Hmm.
legendary for a reason. So
Yep.
yeah, I agree 100%.
Awesome. Okay. So now I think we're talking about the first metal t-shirt.
Oh, that's easy. I remember that one because I really kind of scoped the t-shirt out for a few weeks before
Hmm.
going out to buy it. And it was a Blind Guardian Battalions of Fear t-shirt.
Oh, fun.
And it was way too big. It was like a large. And at the time, I was very skinny. I'm a short person, so it was like I was wearing a
Mhm.
tent, but I didn't care. I was happy. It's
Yes.
like, oh yeah, Blind Guardian t-shirt. So shortly after that, I had Ice Stars. I had Nightwish t-shirts that
Hmm.
faded immediately, but I still wore it until it fell apart, and then the next followed. But yeah, that was the first one.
Hmm. Well, for me, it was really weird. As much as I went to concerts and stuff like that, I never really wore band shirts. I do know that around the Come On Feel the Noise times, my brother and I got it was not matching Quiet Riot shirts like with the Mental Health album on it, but it was very they were very similar. And so I do know that I had a Quiet Riot Mental Health shirt that I loved. Like I wore it to school because it scared people once again with the hockey mask on the front. And so I love that. And at the time we were going to like a Catholic school, which was even funnier. But anyway, that
Of
was
course.
a whole nother situation. But um as far as like even like going to concerts, I never really bought concert t-shirts. It just wasn't something that um I was really into. So really my first, I'd say outside of that Quiet Riot one, I think my first band shirt was probably Iron Maiden when I had this second coming of finding metal. And that was in 2022 for Legacy of the Beast. Um, so yeah, I think that was actually my first, and now I have nothing but band shirts in my closet. So,
It's funny because we keep talking about buying merch, and I don't know if I've mentioned it. I'm super picky about merch
hmm
for wearables, at least. You know, if
hmm
it's something different, but I've started to gravitate more towards more monochrome designs, more minimalist designs.
hmm
And so if it's okay, I love this band, but that t-shirt, no way, because it's like this huge, super colorful design. And I'm like, that clashes horribly with my hair or something like this,
hmm
which is, I am guilty of being vain, I have to admit.
hmm
And so this is a factor. But in this second wave of my own that started a few years ago, the first t-shirt I actually bought, I mean, I didn't buy it myself. That was a concert I had to miss because I got COVID. And my friend went with someone else, and I told her, get me a t-shirt. So
Mhm.
she got me a Apocalyptica 3 tour t-shirt from the Epic Apocalypse store. And it's actually one of my favorites because, again, it's too big.
Mhm.
It goes in the direction of being a dress, but it's so comfortable. It's super soft
Mhm.
and comfortable. So it's also another great one that's too big, but I love it.
Mhm. No, I agree with you. I like the minimalist style um, until I get home, which is really, really weird. And so my wife is always like, does every metal concert shirt have to have this graphic, like, blood spitting out or maggots and all this kind of stuff? And so when I went to see Immolation, I wanted to buy a shirt and I ended up buying two shirts because one had their album art on it and then one just had their logo on it. And I thought the minimalists, I was just like, that's super cool. And I love that the fact that it was just their logo. And then when I wear it, I can't help but feel I look like Beavis and Butthead because you know how they just had Metallica and slash ACD, so there was like nothing else. And so I'm like, ooh, so maybe it's the middle. Like I like the minimalist, but I also feel I look like Beavis and Butthead when I'm wearing it. So it's a weird it's a weird catch 22.
I mean, if it bothers you that much, because I would say if you like it, own it.
Mhm. Oh, I do. I do. Don't get me wrong, but I also own the ones with the blood and guts blurting out of their face and stuff like that, which my wife is not a fan of necessarily.
Yeah, no, that's not for me. I do. I really like the minimalist designs, the understated ones, the more subtle ones. I
Hmm.
think one of the favorite ones that I've gotten within the last year was actually a hoodie from Insomnium, which I think they released around the tour last year. I'm not exactly sure, but anyway, it has a gold design on black, and it's quotes some lines from the song "Shadows of the Dying Sun," and I
Hmm.
actually love that song. It's one of the best on that album, and I love that album in general, but that one
Hmm.
is on a different level. So I'm like, this is amazing. This is so well done. And
Hmm.
yeah,
No,
so it's that kind of thing. That's my
awesome.
thing.
Okay, so I think we have last up, I think we have our first metal autograph.
I think I will let you go first on that one.
Okay, so this is going to be weird because of the fact that I've made it very clear that I collect autographs. And so there's different ways of collecting the autograph, and people can be very gatekeepy, and people can be, that's did you get it in person or did you buy it somewhere or, however you got it. And a lot of the autographs that I get as a hobby is where you send away to you write a letter to a person that you admire and then throw a picture in there with a Sharpie and then they sign it and send it back. So that you can see that it's a legit signature. It's not auto pen. Sometimes you get auto pen back and you know that it's auto pen and it is what it
Yeah.
is. But so in the autograph world, there's a whole different thing of what's right, what's wrong. So I kind of have two answers. So as far as autograph like owning, I have, I think I got them around the same time, and I don't really know um, which came first. But I have an autographed album cover, album of Slippery When Wet, Bon Jovi, signed by John Bon Jovi. I do have a John Bon Jovi guitar signed, but that came in later. And I also have a Lars drumhead signed. And so that came around the same time as the Bon Jovi. So I was not in front of Lars when he signed it. It was actually more of a bartering situation. It was really actually kind of an interesting story. Back in the day, bands would go to record stores and do in signings
Yeah.
and whatnot. And Alice in Chains on their very first album did a CD signing. And so I didn't see them live, which is kind of a funny story, and I'll tell it here. Why not? We're here. So I was in high school and Alice in Chains was opening up for Van Halen. And so it was the day of the show. They did an in-store signing. So I was second in line. Like I skipped school to get there early enough, and there were two girls in front of me, and so they opened the line up, and you could get your album signed by the band. And so when we got to Lane Staley, he looked at the girls and he said, "Hey, you coming to the show tonight?" And they were like, "No, we couldn't get tickets or whatever." And he was like, "Here's two tickets. I'll get you tickets." So I was like, "That's awesome." So he gets to me and he's like, "Hey, are you coming to the show tonight?" And I was like, "Nah, I couldn't get tickets." And he just goes, "Sucks." And I was like, "Ah, bitter," like he completely was just like,
That hurts.
yes. And had I not seen him just say, "Here's tickets to these girls," I get it. I understand. But that's my interaction with Lane Staley from Alice in Chains, RIP, who had an amazing voice. But
Yeah.
anyway, so, and I don't know if that counts in this whole autograph conversation. But anyway, I had it signed by the original band members. And I had just, had it sitting for a long time. And I wasn't sure even if it was worth anything. And so I kind of threw it out there. I don't remember how I did, but somebody reached out to me and they really, really wanted it. And I didn't have any, provenance, as they call it, to be able to prove that they were real other than that story. And I know that I was there, but at the time there was nothing else that could prove that it was legit. And so the person decided to offer me a trade, and they were like, "I can trade you a Lars drum head signed as well as the Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet." And they had prominence on theirs. And I was just sort of like, "Okay, let's do that. I'm down." So that's kind of how I got them. Um, and I think in hindsight, I don't know if what's better value wise. But for me personally, I loved Metallica and I loved Bon Jovi more than I did Alice in Chains. But I was personally there for the Alice in Chains. So there's part of me that's like, but I have the story, kind of
Yeah,
the
I
way.
mean, I think the value question is also very individual because for the other person, obviously, it was worth more than what
Mhm.
they gave you. But
Yes.
for you, it's like, okay, I like these bands more. So
Hmm.
for me, for you, it was worth it to part with it.
Yes. And as far
Yeah.
as like
So
in person, it probably, well, I don't, if you want to consider the Alice in Chains, I don't really know. But in person, it would probably be even Infected Rain, when I did the interview with them, the very first interview for this channel, which was awesome. How about you?
anyway, about me, I do not collect autographs, at least not in this scale. And it's not something I hunt after. It's something
Hmm.
that's nice to have,
Hmm.
of course. But I mean, when I go to the VIP stuff, it's more like I get to meet the band and then I probably get to be in front and see everything because, again, short person.
Hmm.
And yeah, but it's cool to have them. And the first one, actually, I got it in person because one that I actually got from someone else, it came much, much later. And the first one, I sadly also no longer have, and I have no idea what happened to it. It was actually two sets that I got from Korpiklaani in 2010.
Hmm.
That was on a festival, and I believe, I'm not sure if it's made its way in the online version of last episode, but I think I mentioned, yeah, my ex at the time, like
Yes.
the partner at the time, that's kind of, I think, tried to sabotage himself or me.
Hmm.
And but anyway, we ended up meeting Korpiklaani because they were doing like a free signing session under the scorching
Hmm.
sun, like brave souls. But I don't think they were much bothered. They were in the shade. They had like a little tent.
Hmm.
And I think they were all on some sort of substance. In
Oh,
any
fun.
case, they were all in great spirits. They were like super in a good mood, chilling out, and they were playing loud reggae music in the tent.
Hmm.
And it was like you could just get items at on the spot and get them signed. So I got their latest album, which I think was Kamelot. I'm not sure. I think it was Kamelot at the time, and Coaster.
Mm,
So I had them sign these, and they were very nice. I have a picture with them that I still have,
mm,
which we might probably include, like
sure.
with two of them, like not all of them, but that came later because later there's like Sodom or Creator was playing, and during the meantime we went to get drinks and we met two of them. Oh guys, can we have a picture? And they were
Mhm.
super nice about it and still in a great mood. And it was overall a nice experience meeting them. But I don't know what happened to the autograph sets.
Mm.
In one of the multiple moves, they just disappeared.
Wow. I don't know why, like I've always just been fascinated by autographs my whole entire life. And I think it started as in an early age. I lived in Philadelphia and they would always have like car shows, but it wasn't like I'm not a car person, but they always had like random celebrities there too, and that you could get their autograph. And that I was like, as a little kid, was just like, yes, like I had a David Hasselhoff
Nice.
autograph when he was doing Knight Rider. And so like I got to sit in the car and then David Hasselhoff signed, a picture or Polaroid or something like that. I don't have that. I wish I did because that would be definitely one of my first, I think, autographs. But now I just have like photo albums or books of different autographs just because I've been fascinated by the whole concept of it's just something that people throw away. Like think about how many things you sign in a day just in your normal work, or you sign auto repair things, or whatever it is. And so it's very trivial and it's almost nothing. But on the other hand, it means something to the person who received it because for that one moment in time, might be a millisecond or whatever, there was something that you had a thing with. And so even on the ones that I send away to people, they had to open the letter that I sent, and they
Yeah.
had to read it, and they actually, and actually it was kind of funny, as luck would have it, I literally have one that showed up in the mail a couple weeks ago, which I sent out, I think 2 years ago, maybe,
Oh,
and
wow.
I just forgot about it. And the person not only signed the photos, but they clearly read the letter that I wrote and they answered questions. I always ask questions too. And most people just they send you the picture
Yeah.
and the sign back, but some people actually take the time to answer the questions too. And this person did as well, which I thought was super cool. But for me, it's they took that whatever moment in time and you had some sort of a connection. And so I guess that's what it is. I don't really
Yeah,
know, but
I guess it's also a proof of okay, you have there's something about them that you like or admire or
mhm,
whatever, and that's proof that you actually got to meet them and tell them, oh hey, I'm a big fan.
mhm.
Could you
Yes.
please like leave your sign on this, leave
Mhm,
your mark on this, and but the ones that you don't have signed personally, I think it's also cool. Just as it's a cool display
mhm.
decoration item.
Yeah. And I found this whole experience was more of a kind of a project for myself where I was trying to think about all the like I grew up watching TV as everybody else did, but I mean like they were like my best friends, like the TV shows and
Yeah,
stuff like that. So I went through this phase of trying to find all the, anything that kind of meant something to me as a kid or just growing up, and basically I would end up writing letters to these people and letting them know, as minor as it could be, but just how important it was to me at the time or whatever. And then it sort of turned into this whole thing, but I found it very cathartic, in a weird sort of way to like go, hey, you did something that meant something to me. And so,
yeah, I think that's the coolest thing about this whole concept that you get
mhm,
to tell them, and maybe for them it's also cool to hear it. That
mhm,
okay, I did this thing which was, I guess, work, and it's reached someone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of my favorite ones, there's been quite a few where they've actually written long letters back. And one of them I thought was great was Kevin Williamson, who basically created Dawson's Creek, the TV show, but he also did
Uh-huh.
this, he did the Scream movies and that kind of stuff. And so I wrote him, and he literally wrote back and he said that like I completely made his day. Like that letter
Oh,
made his day. And I was like, yes. I was like, it's not just a normal here, let me sign an autograph or take a picture or whatever. It's
yeah.
you made my day. And I was like, yes.
That's really cool. And I
Mhm.
do have a side question
Mhm.
because I just remembered something. What is the craziest autograph idea that you at least tried to get or maybe got?
So, um, like you mean like the albatross, like the hardest one, or the
The
I
most unusual, let's say, or the most impossible one that you at least
so
had the idea to get it.
I think there's a couple, but I think I also was working on a project, and this was I have a like my favorite soundtrack of all time is the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love the movie. Like in college, I wrote a 20-page paper on the movie. I love Rocky Horror, and so I tried to get all of the main, actors from an autograph perspective. And so it started off with Richard O'Brien, who created it, but also played Riff Raff. And he was one that actually wrote me a letter back and was like super kind and all that. But within that group, I ended up getting Tim Curry and I ended up getting Barry Bostwick and those kind of things. Susan Sarandon was like I even got Meatloaf, but Susan Sarandon was my albatross for the longest time, and people kept saying within these little chat groups that she does sign things via the mail, but you sometimes have to wait a long time. So it's worth, be worth it. And so I would send something and nothing. And I'd send, and so I tried multiple times and I gave up. And then literally just randomly one day I opened the mail and got Susan Sarandon. She was my, like the official cap to that whole project. And so, super cool.
So,
So,
yeah, that's definitely a much cooler story than mine, because I just remembered a couple of years ago when we went to see Marco Hietala,
mhm.
and my husband, he's also a big fan of his, and we didn't get VIP or anything, but just the few days leading to the concert, he just started saying, "We should take your bass." Like, for what? So Marco can sign it.
Mhm.
And I mean, if first of all, if he signs it, I'm not playing that thing. So you have to buy me another bass.
Yes.
And second of all, we are never getting that.
Mhm.
Never. And literally before we started, like before we got in the car, he's like, "You sure you don't want to take the bass?" Like, no, no bass. But after that, afterward, we're just sitting maybe the next day super tired because we ended up getting home at 4 a.m. That's a whole other
Mhm.
thing. But next day, kind of on, I don't know which coffee, I was like, maybe it would have been cool to get the bass signed. So
I
now it's kind of like an idea. Maybe I should have a bass that's signed by him and then kind of try to preserve it or something.
I have a weird thing that actually I'm afraid to say it put it out in the air in a weird sort of way, but I probably I'll do it. Who cares? If it happens, it
Okay.
happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I have a bass that is basically the model that Dave Ellefson from Megadeth or Dave Ellefson uses, and it's really just like hanging on my wall. And so I use the Steve Harris bass as far as like bass lessons and stuff like that. And so Metal Church is coming to my area actually on the 26th of this month. So actually right away, real soon.
Yeah.
And I was thinking he's playing bass for Metal Church at the moment. And so I was thinking about taking the bass and seeing if I could get it signed. I don't know if that's even possible or how whatever, but I was thinking about doing that. And so we'll see. Like I haven't seen any like signing things, but the venue is so small that typically if you wait around afterwards, they all usually hang out or come around. It'd be kind of cool if Dave Ellefson would sign my bass.
That would be pretty cool, of course. And I'm not sure how the logistics would even work. I mean, I don't know how it would have worked for me if I had decided to take the base. But
Mhm. Well, it's easy if if they
yeah,
are doing like a VIP meet and greet, that's the
yeah,
easiest way. But if you're doing it like guerrilla style, typically it's showing up way early when they're doing sound check or if they're walking from their bus to the venue. That's usually the easiest way, or after the show. Logistically, it's a tough one.
yeah. Because I was thinking, all the venues I know here, they wouldn't let me in with a bag that's that big.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it kind of has to fit into a size
Hmm.
requirement, and mostly I just take a very small handbag, and if I have something to sign, then I take like a small extra, I don't
Hmm.
know, plastic bag, paper bag, something. And after that, I know one time when we saw at Infinitum for with the VIP, my husband just ran out to the car and left everything there and came back.
Mm.
And yeah, and somehow people let him because there was like a big line when they threw us out for like 10 minutes before opening the doors for
Mhm.
everyone. And I was like, okay, then I have to kind of keep the space for him. But no, he came back and he was like, people just let me through. They thought I
Mhm.
had business up front.
Yeah.
So that was the easiest way, but
Mhm.
otherwise you kind of just have to think about what can I take in that will be allowed in at all.
Mhm. As far as sending things out that were not just pictures, I somebody gifted me a hockey jersey. I'm also a huge Philadelphia Flyers fan, folks. So somebody had gifted me a hockey jersey that I wasn't going to wear. Not that I didn't like the player or anything like that, but size wise, it just didn't fit. And so I decided to send it to the player and see if they would sign it. And with anything, it's a gamble. You're literally just throwing it out, assuming that, it could be the best, but also you have to assume that you'll never see it again.
Yeah.
And that one waited for about 6 or 8 months, and it was just sort of like I quite frankly forgot about it. And then one day it showed up at the doorstep, and it had an amazing signature, but also a nice little message on it as well. And it was just like,
Nice.
but
Yeah, that was super cool. Which reminds me, I was maybe 10 or 11 years old, something in that ballpark, and I was into volleyball up to the point where I was playing. Like I was in a club and I was playing, and for my own private use, I had gotten through different connections actually the official kind of ball that the federation was using at the time.
Mhm.
Which I was very happy about because it's a nice ball. It's not too heavy on the fingers and doesn't leave that many red spots when when you serve and everything.
Mhm.
And at one point, the national team was playing in my town where I was living. And what I did not know was that my mother knew someone who knew someone else, and so forth. And they took the ball without my knowledge, and
Mhm.
they had it signed by the whole team.
That's awesome.
So, okay, yay,
Yeah,
they
there
signed
you
the
go.
ball, the volleyball. But after that, I had a problem because I couldn't play with the ball. Like, what do you mean I will play? The signatures will fade.
Mhm. Yes.
So it was like a museum piece for a decade or so. But
Mhm.
then my little siblings got their hands on it.
Oh, sorry.
So rest in peace,
Yes. Well,
volleyball.
I have one last autograph story, and then we should probably wrap it up. But
Yeah.
this one is actually very cool and very sentimental in a weird sort of way. So, as mentioned, big Philadelphia Flyers fan. And so, this guy I work with, who's from North Carolina, basically he worked at a thrift shop, or like a Salvation Army kind of place. I don't know what they call it in Europe, but um
Thrift shop is
yeah, I guess a
yeah,
thrift shop kind of
thrift shop,
place.
charity shop, all
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
And so years ago, he was working there, and a lady came in, and I think she was homeless, and she basically asked him if they had anything warm that she could have. And so he saw this Flyers jersey, and he figured a hockey jersey would be warmer than, what else they had. So he gave her this jersey. And so he didn't think anything of it. 3 years later, she came back with the jersey and she gave it back. And she was in a better spot and she thanked him for his
Good for
kindness.
her.
Yeah. But he was with this jersey and he didn't know what to do with it. And he said, so he sent it to me because he knew I was the only Flyers fan that he knew. And so he sent it to me. And I thought, that's a really cool story, but what am I going to do with it? Because
Yeah.
there's, it wasn't sized, for me. It wasn't, I was a fan of the player, but really, what am I going to do with it? It was a nice, sweet story. But as luck would have it, the week that I received it, I found out the player was doing an autograph signing in Philadelphia. And so I drove up to Philadelphia to have him sign it. So now it's hanging in my house, which is so cool because it's like that jersey has probably had a life of its own and beyond,
Yes.
and the story behind it to me is way more important than the actual autograph itself. Like it's super cool that it's autographed and it works, but once again, the actual story of the item is the true value of the whole thing.
Yes. Yes. That's a really cool one. I think it's
Mhm.
a good one to also close off the topic, even
Mhm.
if it's not a metal autograph, but
No, just
it's a nice one, so I allow it.
awesome. And so, yeah, folks, well, we've talked about a bunch of things, definitely our firsts and whatnot, and we would absolutely love to hear your first.
Please.
Did you agree with us? Where did we go wrong? Although there's no real wrong answer because it's
Mm.
how we found things, but were there things that were shocking, disappointing, or anything along those lines? But also, if you've got like a cool autographed piece of memorabilia or something along those lines you want to share, please let us know in the comments. You're part of this just as much as we are. And
Yes.
so please make sure that you hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button. And that way you'll be clued into everything that we're doing. But yeah, and with that being said, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.